Yeah, so that's a good question. So this means that we have to evaluate you from a different starting position. And this is why during these assessments that I do, Amanda, you'll often see me ask people when I go from an extended position, I'll have them then go down from a extended position into a flex position.
Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Nick Halsey with Motus Nova. I'm a licensed neurophysical therapist and neuroscientist helping brain injury survivors understand how to make functional gains after their injury. I hope this video helps you in your recovery.
So the question then is, if I try to do the extension and it says my extension is negative, does that mean it's in a flex position, maybe from tone? Yeah, basically, yes. So the convention is fairly simple. And so it's helpful to kind of differentiate this. When you think about the values, right? Our convention is that 0, or basically neutral, is 0. And anything below this is negative. Anything above this is positive. So extension is positive and flexion is negative. If, for instance, you are in a position where you're in a what's called flex position and a negative value, and you move up into a less negative, closer to 0 value, yeah, you're extending, but it's just your positions are just shifted. Those distributions rather are shifted. So this is a little bit different than what would be done clinically, right? Like if we were putting a goniometer on someone and we had them rest and they were in a relatively flex position, and we asked them to go up into extension, we'd say, oh, they had 10 degrees of active movement, right? We wouldn't differentiate that was from, 40 degrees or 50 degrees of flexion to 30 degrees of flexion. But so that's a little bit of a difference in the way that a computer has to run, in addition to the way that maybe a clinician or kind of clinical minds would think things. So your inference and your interpretation there is exactly right. It could be from tone. It could also be just from weakness, a weakness of those extensors.
So what if I ask in the assessment to do flexion and I can get the Motus hand to go down into flexion, but then it says the flexion degrees are negative. So what's that?
So if you are, let's say you're going from 0 degrees down to, give me some numbers, give me some examples here, if you wouldn't mind.
I don't remember the numbers it exactly said, but if it said, say, negative 22 of flexion and the wrist was down in flexion, then what is that?
So I incorporate these sort of composite movements, moving from different ranges of motion. So I don't necessarily just rely on if your resting position is, let's say, minus 22, i.e. relative flex position. I don't think that you can only do 3 degrees of movement if you can only go from minus 22 to minus 25, right? That's not a fair assessment, right? We need to be able to evaluate that from higher positions as well. And we actually back out a lot of this information from the games, the time series of the games, so we can figure out your active movement in the gameplay as well.
Thanks for watching this video. If you have questions or would like to speak with me about how you can make functional gains from home, call or text me at 404-939-3476 or visit motusnova.com/contact.